G'day, I'm Paul. Mazda has just taken the wraps off the new CX-5. It's the third generation of this car. Today I'm going to walk you through all of the information on the car that we have so far, some details on the powertrain, some of the interesting features they've fitted to this and the way that it has changed in terms of size. Now, apologies, I'm shooting this in my hotel room because I'm on holiday. I didn't want to be filming anything on holiday, but Mazda decided to drop this. So this is going to be pretty low rent, but I'll give you everything you need to know. Now, ahead of me here, I've got my laptop with all the details. So let's kick off with the design. So third generation of this car, they've sold over 4 million of these globally. So it's been a massive thing for Mazda. Now you could be mistaken for thinking that this is in fact the old car. It carries over that sol red color here for the Hero vehicle. The design hasn't really changed a great deal at the front. So the headlights have changed a little bit. They've extended that profile. You've got those LED daytime running lights there. Headlight washer there as well. So it means that these are going to be pretty powerful headlights. They require headlight washers for certain lumen outputs for headlights. So that's fitted here, which means they should be pretty decent. This bit on the side is interesting. So it kind of looks like someone's run into something and they've just not fixed it, but this is a design element. So instead of putting a fog light down there, they've kind of got this chiseled section with this fold, and it's a design element of some sort. Closer on the grille there, you can also see that they've gone down the path of fitting like a brushed chrome around the bottom section of that grille, and then the front of the bonnet tapers off a little bit there as well, which we've seen on vehicles like the previous generation CX-9, where it sort of cuts off at the front there with that waterfall design. Look, I think it is a pretty decent looking vehicle. That's the thing, Mazda on the design front typically does a pretty good job on the outside of their cars, and this is certainly no exception to that. So the front wheel arches there, black color there with a little raised section on that top part. But on the door as well, you can see another one of those folds and that chisely element. One of the things that you notice with stuff like the Mazda 3, when you look at the side profile, it's weird because of that, the lack of folds on the door. It kind of looks weird when the sun bounces off it. And in this aspect here as well, I think it's going to be the same thing, but that fold down the front section of the door there is perhaps going to break things up a bit and just give it a bit more of a stylistic edge to it. Around the back, so a big change there in terms of the way those tail lights are presented. They sort of flick up along the side there and carry along the back of the vehicle. More of that wheel arch cladding around the rear wheels. Twin exhaust pipes there with the parking sensors integrated. Piano black. Designers in general love piano black inside a car, and now they're starting to fit it outside a car, and it's like, guys, can you please stop with the piano black? You've got those LED elements in there. It looks like a full LED taillight, which is good. Individual Mazda lettering on the back there too, so you can see that on the tailgate. And then SkyActiv badge there as well. Aside from that, the back all looks pretty straightforward. Dimensions of the car have changed too. Now, they've increased in terms of basically every measure of this. Now, the reason those things are really important is because Mazda CX-5 was one of the smallest medium SUVs in the segment. Really lacked that legroom in the second row, and it felt just a bit cramped, especially if you were loading kids in and doing stuff like that. So extending the wheelbase means that they're going to have that extra legroom in the second row. You can actually fit things in there. Getting kids in and out is going to be easier. Elderly people as well, without sort of compromising too much in terms of the space there. So by making the vehicle longer, wheelbase longer, and then wider, it's going to mean more interior space for things like knee room and headroom as well. So from the side profile there, it looks very much like a CX-5. It is interesting to see the boot though, so I'll run you through the boot specs in just a second, but that rear wheel sits so far to the back of the car. So you can see by extending that wheelbase by that 70 odd mil, they really have pushed that rear wheel back quite a bit. And it does look kind of strange from this angle. It doesn't look like you have a huge boot, but according to Mazda, the boot is bigger. So, all right, we'll jump over to the rear of the car there. So again, twin exhaust pipes there, and then the front on profile shot there as well. Quite a sort of handsome looking car. Now, when I talk about the extra space inside the cabin, here it is here. You can see there that the door aperture has changed. So Mazda talks about increasing the amount of space there you have to get people in and out of the vehicle. So that is this whole frame here. It increases in terms of size, and then that means you're able to load people in easier. The door also appears to open at a wider angle as well. That's one of the things Subaru did really well with the Forester. The door opens at around 90 degrees or just under 90 degrees, and it means that if you are putting a baby seat in or trying to get things in and out of that second row, it is far easier to do that without having to compromise in terms of getting stuff in and out of the car. They've also talked about the boot as well being deeper. So you can see here in this portion of the video, the boot sits deeper, the rear seats also recline, and they've now also gone down the path of a 40-20-40 split folding configuration for the second row. And it means that when you are loading things in, so you can see that split folding work here, means that when you are loading things in, you can have that center sort of ski port available to load longer items in. So you can see here the actor's going to feed something through there, and it means that you do have a bit more flexibility in terms of the space there. So definitely good news on all those fronts, bigger in every regard. Let's jump inside the cabin though. This is a huge departure from where Mazda was previously. So while we don't have literage yet for the cargo space, they have spoken about 50mm longer in terms of depth and a drop in lift height. So that is the height of the lip when you're loading things into the vehicle. Not exactly a huge amount, but it is going to mean a bigger cargo space for your things. Now have a look at this interior. So an enormous 15+ inch display in the center there. Now it is interesting, Mazda was big on individual buttons for things like climate control and critical elements inside the cabin. They appear to have all gone. So a lot of these buttons are now integrated into the screen. So you can see here that climate controls are here on the screen. All of the critical menu items are on the screen. So that is a bit disappointing because of, I don't know, people just always seem to complain about a lack of physical buttons, and this is kind of the extreme in the opposite direction where all of the physical buttons are integrated onto the screen there. And it is a big screen as well. Mazda used to be one of those companies that just integrated smaller screens into their cars, and they've now followed that trend of just fitting these enormous screens in there because I guess that's what people want. But just on the basics here, you can see they've retained AM radio. This is something that seems to be disappearing from a lot of cars recently. This could also just all be Photoshop, but it says AM there twice. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all stuff that obviously has been in Mazdas before. Hopefully all touchscreen functionality now as well. I can't see a rotary dial there anywhere, so it means that everything will now be driven through that touchscreen. And it also looks like they've actually integrated apps into here as well. So down here there's a Play Store button and then a Maps button too. So there's a chance here that you'll be able to load your own apps and have a bit more interactivity there with that infotainment system. That'll be exciting to see how that works. Now there is a little glimpse here as well of the steering wheel. What you can see there on the steering wheel, that has all totally changed there in terms of the buttons. They sit quite flush with the wheel there, and these center buttons here sort of depress in, whereas these all appear to be sort of those roller joystick style buttons. And they've integrated their phone. What else have we got there? Button there for the camera, the steering assistance. They're talking big talk here about ADAS functions. They haven't specifically talked about it in the launch because it will come at a later date, but I suspect this is going to have some kind of a level 2 semi-autonomous driving system and perhaps a bit more focus on some of those ADAS functions. Again, these things are some of the most frustrating features that manufacturers fit to cars these days, so I'm hoping that Mazda has tuned it correctly and we're not going to find that this is a system that just beeps and bongs at you constantly when you take your eyes off the road for a second, because that stuff is incredibly frustrating and very distracting as well, ironically. There's a screen in the background there as well. So again, stuff we've seen on Mazda products before, nothing sort of overly revolutionary there. Now further to that as well with the interior, they've spoken about ambient lighting, specifically for the front portions of the car here, nothing for the second row, but it should just introduce a bit more sort of comfort inside the cabin there and just give it that airy feel. You can see here they've gone with a lighter color on the roof there, availability of lighter colored seats as well, and decent storage too. So center console lid just there with storage down the front there as well, and then a traditional gear lever. So nothing sort of too crazy or out of the ordinary there. Notice as well on the roof there, they have a glass panoramic roof. So previously with CX-5, you only had the availability of a sunroof, whereas now you've got a panoramic opening sunroof. And then there is a shot here as well with one of the kids in the second row where they're accessing USB-C charging ports. And just adjacent to that as well, where that kid's hand is, you can see there heated seats for the second row and air vents as well. They do also have quite a funny shot here. Well, not a funny shot, but a very optimistic marketing shot of a very small lady in the second row there, where they talk about being enough room for adults to cross their legs. I reckon if I got in the second row there wouldn't be a great deal of leg crossing. So yeah, it does look like it is a wider and more open space, but I wouldn't expect miracles there in terms of how much they can actually cram inside the cabin. We're going to put on the screen here a comparison between the new CX-5 and some of the other vehicles on the market in terms of their dimensions and how much size they're able to cram into the packaging for a medium SUV. You've got to remember as well that Mazda has really complicated things with CX-5, CX-60, 70, 80, 90. There are just so many different cars there, and it is really confusing to understand which one is which. There's even a CX-50, which we don't get in Australia. So just getting your head around all of this, even for consumers, is quite confusing. Let's talk about engines. So this is probably the bit that surprised me the most, and not so much in a good way. So Mazda talks about the all-new CX-5 launching with a 2.5 litre Skyactiv G 4-cylinder engine, which produces 132 kilowatts of power and 242 newton meters of torque. So not exactly a huge amount of power and torque. It is an engine that is familiar to the Mazda range, but being a naturally aspirated petrol engine, it is going to be a bit of a screamer. Made it to a 6-speed automatic transmission. Hopefully this is going to be a different gearbox to the one that Mazda developed in-house for some of their bigger products, because that gearbox has been a bit of a letdown. So hopefully this is a gearbox that they are going to just carry over from the current generation car. But they are talking about all-wheel drive there, 2.5 litre powertrain. So yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see how that sort of pans out. It's not exactly the world's most engaging engine, but knowing Mazda, they'll probably pull a couple of tricks out of their sleeve there as well. So at this stage, that is all the information we have. We do know that it'll be launched in Australia in 2026, and we typically get these cars pretty quickly. So that should mean for the international market that this car will go on sale later in 2025 or early 2026. I'm keen to have a drive of it, keen to have a poke around the cabin. Mazdas typically have felt really nice inside, but with the price direction some of the Mazda products have gone with the introduction of 6-cylinder drivetrains, it is going to probably mean that this will hike up in price. And with the influx of Chinese market cars, it'll be interesting to see how Mazda combats that. This doesn't seem to have any groundbreaking technology or features, so they can't exactly go and just jack up the price for no reason. So they're going to have to be very considered in their approach and how they manage this. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on the new CX-5 in the comments section below. Do you like the look of it? Do you think they have done a good job, or do you think they could have done better? What do you think about the drivetrain as well, and where do you think the pricing is going to land? Again, sorry about this super sort of self-shot random video in my hotel room, but I thought I'd get this out as quick as I could. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. But until next time, take it easy.